YouTube, how's it going? The GOAT House is back on NFL trade deadline day. A very disappointing day. A lot of rumors surrounding top tier players were kind of thrown at us, and none of them traded. The only one of the day, kind of a big name here, was Aqib Talib, going from the LA Rams to the Miami Dolphins. I'm here to break it down and grade each team for this trade like we did with the past trades. Still was a pretty active trade deadline, just not trade deadline day, I suppose, but a little disappointing today. But this was an interesting trade. I have a good take on it. We'll break that down in just a second. We have extra content on our Patreon. There's a link in the description. You also can go to patreon.com/thegoathouse. If you want more score predictions besides the ones here on YouTube, if you want playoff predictions and mock drafts, you get all three of those things and more updated every single week, constantly updated. And that's all part of a certain package. So you get all three of those things and more. So check it out for more info. And we're trying to get to that 40K subscriber goal by 2020. So please help us out by clicking that subscribe button. We would appreciate you very much. In season, we got videos like these. We got recaps, power rankings, predictions on games every week. In the off season, we got full coverage of free agency and the draft. Daily sports videos here at the GOAT House. So worth the subscription, and we would appreciate you very much. Check us out on Twitter, link in the description. But to the trade. Dolphins get Aqib Talib, corner, and they get a 2020 fifth-round pick, which actually is coming from the Rams, but before that, previously owned by the Baltimore Ravens. And the Rams get a 2022 seventh-round pick, so not this draft, not the next draft, but the next one. So pretty crazy there. They needed to get something in return is kind of what it was there. So basically, they had kind of an NBA trade. We usually see this in the NBA. Teams giving up something for somebody to take in a contract. You rarely see it in the NFL. So very interesting. And it's still a solid player in Aqib Talib. He can still play corner at a solid level. He was definitely when it was Talib and Peters, it felt like Talib was the better of the bunch. I know getting up there in age, and he has an expiring contract and is currently hurt. But the Dolphins get him and a fifth-round pick. So they added to that collection of draft picks for the 2020 NFL Draft. So many picks, and I don't expect them to stay pat with all those picks. I expect a little movement. We can discuss that in the offseason and in our mock drafts on our Patreon that are every week. But the Rams had to get something out of this. They get a 2022 seventh-round pick. I wonder how that phone call was, how that debate was. Yeah, just give us a 22 seventh-round pick. Very interesting. But to my grades, let's grade the Dolphins real quick. I gave them an A+. I love this trade for the Dolphins. They take in a cap hit, which remaining this year I think is definitely south of $5 million. And they had plenty of cap space. Obviously, they're not paying it. They're pretty much not paying anybody right now. Xavier Howard, they gave a big contract to. So they have the cap space. They can afford to do this. And on top of that, he's going to be a free agent next year, so they don't have to pay him anymore. If they want to re-sign him, he's still a solid corner. They have the option to do that, just like any other team does. And then, who knows? Maybe it's Talib and Xavier Howard next year as the corner duo. I mean, really don't know. Most likely he won't play this year, but, that's okay because the Dolphins aren't trying to win this year anyway, so that's a positive thing, really. And they get a fifth-round pick to add to kind of that like I said, the collection of picks that they're gathering, and it's only a good thing. This is a team that can afford to do this. Several teams could afford to do this, but the Dolphins definitely being probably the top option for sure because they're not trying to win anything this year, and they have plenty of cap space. So they get an A+ for this deal. And like I said, it'd be very interesting if what happens long term. Next year, maybe they get Talib back. Maybe honors the trade. He's back with Xavier Howard amongst the other young defensive backs, and maybe it ends up being even better than expected. So something to watch out for. And the Rams, I gave a C+. I'm kind of back and forth on this one. It just didn't make a whole bunch of sense to me. I mean, at the end of the day, it's gonna be for a good cause, I guess we'll call it, because they're they're gonna go sign Jalen Ramsey sooner, than later. So I guess it's good for a good cause, but it doesn't make a whole bunch of sense, the whole thing. Well, first off, they traded the Ravens' fifth-round pick. That was acquired in Marcus Peters' deal, so it feels like they traded both their starting corners, Marcus Peters and Aqib Talib, for Kenny Young and a 2022 seventh-round pick. That's what it feels like. Looking at it that way, it looks like a D or an F. You know, it looks really bad looking at it that way, and that's kind of how, you know, you have to look at this. But again, the good thing is they're able to sign Jalen Ramsey. They did get Jalen Ramsey out of it. They did have to trade a lot of other pieces, so that's really not involved in this. But yeah, you know, my big problem is, you know, why they felt like they had to do this Jalen Ramsey deal now. That's a little concerning to me that they felt like they had to do it now. He's under contract through next year as well. They wanted to give him more money, you know, I guess sooner rather than later. That's a little concerning, you know, if that guy really needs the money right now. You know, I guess that's his character, but you know, they weren't going to have Talib back anyways this year, so that's a good thing. So you can see I'm kind of all over the place, but it didn't make any sense because it felt like they're desperate. They have to sign Ramsey now or they're going to lose him, but that should not be the feeling. And then kind of looking at it, you know, like I said, you know, it feels like it's Peters and Talib for Kenny Young and basically nothing in that draft pick. So, you know, I didn't, you know, C+. That's probably what the plus comes from, is Talib wasn't going to play for them anyways, but still, I'm not in love with the deal. Just felt like they were kind of desperate for this when they didn't need to be desperate for it, and what they get in return is a 2022 7th-round pick. You know, that kind of hurts a little bit. You know, why can't it be like a 6th-round? You know, I would think it could be like a 6th-round pick for this year even, but or maybe next year. But you know, I understand having to give up more. Just not in love with it. Just a little confused by it. You know, the main reason being, you know, everyone knows the reason they did this is because Jalen Ramsey, they're going to extend him. They're going to sign him. They're going to get the guy's money sooner rather than later. But for me, again, don't think it needed to be done right now. You know, it's kind of weird that they feel like that needs to be done right now. I don't know what's being said between the two. So that's something to think about. You know, something that's somewhat concerning, not crazy concerning for me, but yeah, the Dolphins definitely win the deal. I gave them an A+. You know, it just doesn't hurt at all. You know, what's the worst case scenario? Worst case scenario is, I mean, you can't even come up with a worst case scenario. What is it? Talib plays and he helps them. Maybe that's the worst case scenario for this year. But no, realistically, the worst case scenario is he doesn't play. They lose him in free agency. And, I mean, they can even get a compensatory pick out of that. Just thought of that now, too. So, I mean, worst case scenario is a good scenario here. So you can think of all the different options. You can come back and play. They can get a compensatory pick. You know, it's all good scenarios here. And on top of that, they added the 2020 5th-round pick, which is for this year, add to the long list of draft picks they have. So it was a good deal for the Miami Dolphins. So a quick summary of that trade there in this video, like we did with the other videos there, just to break it down real quick. So if you haven't seen the other ones for the trades that happened, go check it out. We also have power rankings up for this week. We got our picks coming on the way tonight, which is every Tuesday night, and many more videos covering the NFL throughout the week. So hopefully you can join us for that. Hopefully you can subscribe. We'd appreciate it very much. That's going to do it for this one, though. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.